Okay, I'm Andrew Fleming. I'm here at the Vancouver Courier with my colleague Cheryl Rossi. One of the stories you wrote this week generated quite a bit of interest online and in the paper. It involves it's a restaurant that closed in the Commercial Drive area. Now, you might think a restaurant closing isn't necessarily a huge story, but here in Vancouver, it's a pretty touchy subject, and I believe the rent went up about $2,000 just kind of out of thin air. Is that right?
The owner of the restaurant, it's called Little Nest. It's on Charles Street, just off Commercial Drive. And what's unique about the restaurant is that it's a really child-friendly place. So a lot of people don't feel comfortable bringing their kids to restaurants, but this restaurant was created specifically for that. She found out in December that her rent was going up, starting in February, $2,000 a month. So her rent is now $6,500 a month, which she just can't afford anymore. So she's planning to close, I think it's July 21st. But people, when they found out, were very upset because it's become a real community gathering point in the city. And people are also wondering about the ability of landlords to increase rents, commercial rents, such a great amount.
Now, my understanding that it's for residential landlords, they can't, there's a maximum they're allowed to sort of jack the rent. They can't just decide, you know what, it's going to be $2,000 more this month, but it's different for commercial or industrial. Do you know if there's any movement afoot to address this or how that might work?
Well, I think this Little Nest incident has really galvanized the community. One woman who frequents the restaurant read my story in the Courier and immediately started a Save Little Nest Facebook page and then told the owner. But over 4 days, they had 1,750 people like it on Facebook. And I checked this morning, and it was more than 2,000, so that's in a week. And a lot of people wanted to save Little Nest, but they were hoping maybe she could move the restaurant somewhere else, but probably she can't afford to do that. But they were talking about crowdfunding, so using websites to raise money, and now they're talking, well, maybe they could use that money to start a movement to, I guess, canvass the provincial government to put some limitations in about raising commercial rent rates.
No, I actually just live a few blocks away, and I go past it all the time. I confess I don't go in much because it is always full of kids, but I'm aware the building is also, there's quite a few residential apartments up top. Do you know if there's been any problems with them having problems with the landlords, or if there's been many complaints and that kind of thing?
Right. Well, I looked when I wrote this story. I wasn't able to talk to the landowner, but I did look up their name on the BC assessments, and then when I just looked up that name on the internet, the city's rental database came up, and that landlord is listed on there as just not properly maintaining the rental suites above.
I guess I know that it's not really on Commercial Drive; it's just off to the side. And I'm wondering, if they raise the rent and nobody moves in, this could easily, or it could potentially backfire on the landlord himself, because I don't really see a Starbucks or somebody with deeper pockets necessarily wanting to move in. But I suppose that's just speculation.
Yeah, the thing I'm hearing over and over again is that it's harder and harder for small businesses to survive in Vancouver. A lot of them talk about property taxes, and some people said, part of rents being raised each year by landlords is probably the property taxes, but obviously not $2,000 a month in property taxes. But I've heard there are other parts in the city that are facing the same problems, and I think small businesses are worried that and customers are worried that all our unique, interesting shopping areas are going to become chain stores. Yeah.
Well, it's an ongoing problem here in Vancouver, and we'll probably have more stories on this in the future. Thanks a lot, Cheryl.
Thank you.
All right.
感谢收看今天的大温故事，我们下期再见。